Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Fallout Bar. It is night 4 of the Betfred World Matchplay, and we are halfway through the second round already. We are absolutely motoring through the tournament on a night of shocks, upsets, and drama at the Winter Gardens. Joined, but once again, by the wonderful Mr. Dan Simpson, who, if you don't know all the results tonight, I think you can guess one of them looking at his attire.
Yes! How are they, lads?
Newcastle
Rangers 2-1, that's it. Pre-season friendly.
That's the big intro. Hello. Thanks to everyone who has joined us at this hour. It is nearly 11:30 already, so hopefully we will race through tonight's action for you. Elle says, how do, lads? What a night of jam tarts. I can't speak. Joe says, I'm late again. I'm never late. Dan was sat ready for me today, but it was Dan yesterday, so don't give me that. A worse pundit than me would threaten you with libel for that on social media, but the less said about that one, the better in the last 24 hours. Nell says, evening, guys. Ando out, Smith out, Price out. Funny old game indeed. Malik says, hi, everyone. MVG and Price out early. Not forgetting the one world champion, Michael Smith. The big three are gone. I think Person Tech was waving, text green, game over. Come on. I have no idea how that's meant to translate, but it doesn't look right in the chat room that we can see.
About Dolby.
Do any hate comments? Snakebite's still in it. James says, hi guys, David Gurney missed 5 darts at a double in their game. Ridiculous standard from that pair. MVG, Michael Smith, Ando Price gone. Humphrey's now favourite. We believe so. We're waiting for Betfred to update their odds so we can tell you who actually is favourite for them. Preston says, evening, lads. Robert tonight has completely justified the phrase trolls for show double stoke. Indeed, we'll get into that a little bit as we go on. Darts said to Smith out, Smith Price out. Wow, a really good night of darts. Bob says, hi, how we doing, mate? Hope you're good. And Danny says, Dirk with some aubergines. We will talk about Dirk a little bit later on. First up, though, Dan, we have to talk about Daryl Gurney and Gary Anderson, because what a game and what a performance that was from Super Jim.
Yeah, it was monstrous, and in all honesty, at the time it happened, I thought, we're watching the biggest story of the night unfold. How foolish I was to make such an assertion so early in the night, but not just like really, really unbelievable performance from Gurney. I was going to say vintage Gurney, but beyond that, the average was unbelievable. The scoring phase of his game was incredible, but a scrape shy of 70% on his doubles, 5 doubles missed in the whole game, and he's had and this is the relentlessness at which he played. He's won 11 legs. He's had 16 darts at double in 11 legs, to win 11 legs. An absolutely unbelievable performance from Daryl Gurney. And I think, he played very, very well in his opening game. And I think everyone questioned, could he maintain? I didn't see anyone in darts media or fans on Twitter or anything else of people thinking, he'll kick on and go up another level, kick on another gear. But that's exactly what he did. He took that opening performance and Gary didn't do a great deal wrong. Gando averaged 102 himself. He was 30% on his doubles, which, it's not amazing, but 30% will normally do you okay if you're averaging 102. But that performance from Gurney tonight was just something else. Really, really impressive stuff.
I don't have the entire breakdown in front of me, but it feels like a lot of those misses from Gary were pop shots at the bullseye at the end of a combination he had no choice but to take out if he was going to try and stay in the game, and they just weren't going for him in the early phases. He found himself 6-0 down to Daryl Gurney, and all he'd had were darts at the bullseye.
Yeah, and it did. I think everyone, both players included as well, at 6-0. It was to say an uphill battle. It doesn't quite do it justice, And we've talked all week about leg play and how once you get ahead and you get to the point where as long as you can hold a couple of throws, you are really just serving the game out. And yeah, he just came out so fast, Gurney, and he looked so impressive that I think Gary did. It was everything he could do to get 4 legs on the board. And for a decent chunk of that game, I wasn't convinced he would. It was just a. And I don't really, as I say, I haven't really got anything negative to say about Gary's performance. It was just a superb showing from Daryl Gurney. Really was.
As daft as it sounded, was that sixth leg the moment where you felt like this was real trouble for Gary? Because at 5-0 headed into a break, you can almost make the argument that perhaps that break's going to come at the wrong time. Recent form might start to kick in. If anybody can start reeling this off, get the crowd on his side, then Gary Anderson is one of those people. But that sixth leg, it just carried on, didn't it? It just completely shut the door on early doors.
Well, it did. I mean, Gurney had the darts from the get-go. So to go in that break 5-0 up, he broke Gary twice. So Gary being broken twice, but then that 6-0, that opening game from the leg was another break. So not only was he 6-0 down, but he was 3 breaks of throw down as well, coming back from the break. So it was just bordering on an impossible task. And the only hope Gary had at that point was just to throw, 10 darters for the rest of the game, or a complete dip in form and a crash from Gurney. And that just didn't come. It was relentless from Gurney.
It was indeed. I probably should have checked this before we started, but we do have a clip from Daryl Gurney, so that is exactly what I'm going to play you now, guys. This is a short clip from his post-match press conference earlier on today.
I feel like I'm a better player now all round, to be honest. I mean, my finishing's far better. I know that I've lost the 180s, but it's one of them strange things that whenever I can get more 140s and my finishing's better, it doesn't really matter. But don't get me wrong, I mean, yeah, give me my 180s. I'll take them back any day. I mean, I was one of the biggest 180 hitters in the world whenever I was good. But now it seems to be 140s and 128s and 134s and 137s. But yeah, I mean, if I can stay consistent at 140s, hitting 2 trebles per visit, and keep my double percentage up, I'll do well.
That clip was actually 10 minutes long, but we've had to shorten it because once you ask Daryl Gurney one question, he gives you the entire interview all in one go. He's a reporter's dream. He's an editor's nightmare, I think is the way that we phrased that earlier on. But some interesting thoughts there from Daryl Gurney regarding the change in the way that he approaches the game, or the way the game is going for him right now. On to another absolute belter of a game, and it was Danny Noppert against Nathan Aspinall, the world number 8 against the world number 9. 2 players that are very evenly matched, and it was a great scrap once again, Dan.
Yeah, it was very much, as you say, that it looked very much the world number 8 against the world number 9. It was very, very evenly poised all the way through. There wasn't a great deal of separation. As we got to 9 all, it was a bit of a toss of a coin. It did find a bit of a sort of a pattern after the first break. After the second break, there was that midpoint in the second mini session, breaks and sessions, where nobody could hold their throw. I think we went 5 breaks on the spin from 3-2 onwards. We had 5 breaks in a row, and it looked like it was going to be really, really scrappy. And then after that, everybody, both of them kept holding their throw relentlessly. So we sort of went from this relentless breaking of each other to a constant hold right up to 9 all. And at that point, it was Danny Noppert that finally got that break, but immediately lost it and just couldn't sustain the break, and Nathan just got over the line in the end. But yeah, really, really good match. The scoring was better from Nathan, but overall, really, really, really entertaining. Both of them 40%-ish on their doubles. Very, very competitive, and yeah, very, very much number 8 against number 9. Really entertaining.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway from this game is absolutely nobody is surprised at how close it was. Absolutely, but nobody is surprised that Nathan Aspinall won a scrappy match. Perhaps the one big takeaway from this is just how poor Danny Noppert was at holding his own throw tonight after everybody spent the last 6 months saying, just how much of a replica of a James Wade he might well be, and that how breaking his throw is so incredibly difficult.
There was a lot of un-James Wade elements to his performance tonight, and in all honesty, that was his downfall. If he could have just found that little bit of James Wade-esque play that we've been seeing, then that probably would have been enough to get him over the line. Because Nathan, whilst this was a very competitive game and really entertaining to watch, it wasn't box office in terms of quality. It was decent from both of them, but it wasn't both players at their best. And I think if Noppy could have just found a little bit more of that in a couple more legs, that would have been enough to get him over the line.
Yeah, a quick word on Nathan. A battling Premier League campaign. We attribute that quality to him an awful lot. But I want to talk about his relationship with the Winter Gardens crowd. He has got them at the palm of his fingertips, at the end of his fingertips right now. They're doing absolutely everything for him. And it's almost ironic that a song that was big 20 years ago is suddenly really popular in Blackpool, because that pretty much sums up the entire town. That's it. And it's peaked at the right time for him. Mr. Brightside is setting the place on fire for him, and he's absolutely loving it.
Please don't say that was 20 years ago, because I remember very well being out in nightclubs when that song was new and everybody was hearing it for the first
2004, 19 years ago, yeah.
Oh, God, that makes me feel very old.
But it's very apt that the song that is 19 years old is suddenly igniting the Blackpool crowd.
Well, I'm
the
benefit
of Nathan Aspinall.
That the crowd falls probably in an average closer to my age than yours, and that's probably why it's whipping up so much frenzy in there. It's bringing back everybody's nostalgia.
I don't think people my age could handle the entire week there, because it is an absolute slog. How on earth some people do it, I do not know, but they manage it, and so do the players. Let's then hear in a short clip from Nathan Aspinall and see what he had to say in his post-match press conference.
But, I can't be too hard on myself. I'm in the quarterfinals for the third time in a year, third time in 3 years. Van Goghen's in Holland, not in Blackpool, which I'm very happy about. So we'll see what happens on Thursday.
Short and sweet from the Aspie saying, no Van Gogh, it suits me. Probably suits everybody else in the field as well.
Everybody's interviews are about Michael Van Gogh.
To be fair, I think Nathan has ran into him in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, he has. He's
at least one of those
twice,
2 times he's previously been there as well. So understandable that is on his mind at that situation. Up next, another absolute banger, and one that required extra time to be settled. Gerwyn Price is gone. Joe Cullen, the man to knock him out, who started brilliantly, put Gerwyn Price under all sorts of pressure. I thought, Dan, when he allowed Gezi to get back to 8 apiece, he had completely capitulated at the wrong time. He lost the range of his first dart. He had a couple of stinker legs. I think he had a chance to lead 8-5 and instead found himself at 7-all, 2 legs later sort of thing. He had a poor 9 darts at that point. Didn't even get a dart at the ball from 86. But the response from Joe Cullen, once Gezi did start firing again, was absolutely super. Back-to-back ball finishes after Gezi missed one for his own, and that 1-1-2 to win the match was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. At 5-2, I fancied. I thought he might just be able to hold this, and then just before the second break, into that second mini session, they exchanged a break of throw, and I still felt it was Joe's game. At 8-all, certainly at 9-8 to Price, I thought it's completely gone this for Joe, because he had a few absolute stinkers of legs. Well, I think Kessie must have took 4 on the spin. Went from being 8-7 down to 10-8 up, and I just thought it was gone. I thought Joe's completely lost it. He couldn't find, the segment, never mind the treble, quite often. And then he just managed at literally with the last opportunity that he had to find that form again and just start hitting things. Some of his finishing was like tremendous under the pressure that he was under, because and that, I suppose, it's more impressive than when, at 6-4 up, and than some of the finishing at the back end of that game was really, really top stuff from Joe Cullen. Really, really good.
Yeah, it was indeed. I want to talk about the tournament as a whole when we look at this game as well, in that we have seen plenty of players get out to big leads. We have seen some of them surrender those leads to go level, but we've then seen them all kick on and go on and win the game. I'm looking at instances like Danny Noppert against Martin Schindler. We saw similar in James Wade against Chris Dobie. Van Gerwen levels up with Brendan Dolan after being so far behind. Can't go on and kick on. It's not very often that you see players put themselves in that position to do the hard work for the comeback and then not go and kick on. And it's quite astounding, really, how all of these players are managing to allow those legs to slip, feel that pressure, and then respond and actually kick on again straight away afterwards.
Yeah, it's really interesting. What we haven't seen really at all in this tournament so far is a full comeback.
Yeah,
the proper comeback. We've seen people be behind and then win, but only probably be behind by a break or so. We've not seen someone who looked dead and buried come back. It hasn't
not all the way. We've
all.
seen them come back to go level at like
6-7
from 4-1 down, but it's not come all the way, has it? It's not gone full circle at all.
Not once, not once so far in this whole tournament have we seen somebody mount a successful comeback, having been a couple of breaks to throw down. Be really interesting to see if we do see that, because it does just highlight though that importance of being a front runner in a match play format and getting a break ahead, and knowing that if you're not winning on your opponent's throw, it's putting no pressure on you at all. We saw that in the last game tonight, in that when if you're ahead, not winning on your opponent's throw, or like if you're going to have a bit of a stinker, having it on your opponent's throw is massive, because it's doing you no harm at all. It's just allowing you to get one step closer to the end.
It is indeed. I mean, if you look at this game on paper, I know darts is definitely not played on paper. It's definitely a bit of a cliche, but it's quite hard to tell somebody, if they didn't watch this game and they go back and look at the stats, how Gerwyn Price lost it. I mean, he's averaged 100 to Joe Collins' 94, 28 ton pluses to Collins' 23, 16 140s to Collins' 10. He's thrown 11 maximums in 24 legs. Joe Collins with just 7. They both had 2 ton plus checkouts, and Gezzy's at 40% of his darts at a double after making 5 more opportunities than his opponent. It's quite staggering that Gerwyn Price has found a way to lose this one, but perhaps that is all in the brilliance of Joe Collins right at the very end.
It is, but it's also that Gezzy didn't start. Gezzy's doubles were garbage in the first mini session.
Yeah.
At 4-1 down, I'm not sure how many doubles he'd missed at that point, but at 4-1 down, he'd missed repeated doubles. His scoring was fine. He chucked a couple of maxes. At the break, I don't think Cullen had hit a max, and Price had it too. He'd also chucked a couple of 140s. The Price's scoring was fine. He just could not hit a double. And that 4-1 down, those early games, cost him, because the rest of the game, he played level, if not better, in decent spells than Cullen was playing. But he just had too much work to do. He left himself too far behind. He was 4-1 back. So he just couldn't catch it. Those doubles at the very beginning are what cost him the game.
Given the fact that Michael Van Gerwen has already fallen, Gary Anderson departs first game up. Plenty of people tipping him up for a decent run. Obviously, seeing Michael Smith fall the round afterwards now, he will be begrudging those final few legs, as the Weekly Dartcast tell us. From 10-8 up, Price averaged 112 and has won one more leg. He's lost 5-1 from that point, averaging 112. How does that even happen in this sport? I'm just absolutely staggered by it. But that is exactly what has transpired. So we are now going to hear from Joe Cullen.
I struggled a bit, even when I was in front. I really struggled, but it's so pleasing that when you're under it and when the pressure's really on, and you really need your best stuff. Then if you've got a set of balls on you, it'll work.
10-9 down, watching it.
10-8 down.
You looked gone. From watching it, how did you find that mental strength and the resolve to get it back?
I just knew that I could find something, and Yeah, it's really weird. It's like I won't say out of body, but it's like a subconscious feeling. You know, I just didn't feel. The majority of the game, I felt like there was tension in my arm. But then when I was behind 10-8, I felt like the tension was gone, and I felt like I could, produce my best stuff. And if Kessie had hit the ball for the 1-3-2, it's game over. So it'd be fair enough. But yeah, it's so pleasing to know that you can do it when it matters most.
So pleasing indeed for Joe Cullen, who has booked his spot in the quarter-final lineup. I want to go back to a stat that James has chucked into the chat. He said, all the underdogs lost every metric apart from double percentage. Yet here we are looking at 4 underdog victories because Chris Dobey has knocked out the world number 1 and world champion Michael Smith 11-7 in the night's final game. Once again, Michael Smith, not a big comeback, I guess, but Michael Smith looked like at times he might possibly run away with this one. Did lead it 5-2. I mean, the message that you sent at 5-all was how on earth has Dobey got in level here? It's still a bit staggering how this one was close early on because Michael Smith was so good. Yet he finds himself on the end of a loss like this.
Yeah, I was completely bamboozled, like as to how that had come about. Because Michael Smith looked dominant when you were watching the darts, and if you'd have took the scoreboard away, you'd have never guessed that game could have possibly gone in level. But it did. It was just, I couldn't quite get my head around how it worked. Dobey's 140 hitting in the early part of the game was really, really good.
Yeah.
The 180s were there here and there, but the relentlessness, so in well, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 140s and 4 180s in 10 legs. Dobey through. So I sort of think back on that and think, well, I thought Michael Smith was absolutely bossing that game, but Dobey was properly scoring.
Yeah,
really scoring and scoring well. But it was just, I think for Dobey tonight, it was just that. And I've seen it in flashes, probably not the level I've seen it tonight in that situation. The level of composure on some of those checkouts was just. And I've said all week he looks a different player after the Premier League. I think his mindset's in a very, very good place. I think he's a different Chris Dobey to this time last year. But the composure that he showed on stage and the way that he took out some of those finishes, because it did look repeatedly like Michael Smith was going to get back up for it. And it honestly seemed, you could see the energy sort of sap out of Michael Smith. Smith would do something, and he felt like, oh, right, here we go. I'm getting back up for this now. Dobey would come to the hockey and just go, bang, bang, done, off you go. Right, come on, try again. And it seemed like Smith had 4 or 5 goes at trying to get close and hang on to coattails. Every time, Dobey just shut him down.
Yeah, I mean, it was a clinical performance from Chris Dobey. I'm going to describe it as opportunistic because every time he was handed an opportunity from Michael Smith, it does feel like he shut the door in completely. Michael Smith, 20 attempts on the outer ring, just 7 successful. Chris Dobey, 16, hitting 11 of those, obviously winning 11-7.
I don't think I've seen a double stat in a game of this length for a very long time that was just a shave under 75% on doubles. 75% on doubles in an 18-leg game. That is very impressive.
Apart from Darryl Gurney's stat, which was identical 3 games before.
Yeah, but it's more important than Chris Dobey. Much more important.
he's from the 2, and it's definitely more important to Dan. Do we think the fact that Van Gerwen had already exited early, Gerwyn Price left in the match before, may have affected this Michael Smith performance just a little bit?
I'm not convinced. I think I've said all week. I said before the tournament that I think at the moment he can be got at. His scoring isn't where it can be, nor is his finishing, and he's bloody brilliant. But I don't think he's untouchable. I think he can be got at, and I don't just mean at the minute he can be got at by the top 3 or 4. I mean he can be got at by 15, 20 players probably that could give him a go and would have a chance against him at the minute if the right circumstances present themselves, which they did tonight.
They did indeed. No Chris Dobie clip as yet. He's probably still chatting away to the team up in Blackpool. But that will be uploaded in full on our YouTube channel. So make sure you head over there at the end of tonight's show. That'll be available for you, as well as full interviews of all of the players that won tonight and everybody else so far in the tournament. A quick word on the outright betting market right now with our friends at Betfred, the title sponsors of the tournament, given the fact we have lost 3 of the big 4, or the big 3, to be honest, given the way that Peter Wright has performed in 2023 so far. Luke Humphries is now the tournament favourite at 7-2. Nathan Aspinall at 5-1. Joe Cullen at 6. Chris Dobie 8-1. Peter Wright down at 9-1 is on the same odds as Johnny Clayton at 9-1. Dirk van Dijvenbode at 10s. Damon Heta at 12s, along with Dimitri van den Berg, former champion Dimitri van den Berg, and Daryl Gurney. Ryan Searle 18-1, and Brendan Dolan is the rank outsider at 66-1 there, Dan. Plenty of value there, to be honest, given just how open this field is.
Well, depending on how early you got it. Chris Dobie was 33-1 this morning.
He's into 8s.
Yeah. It's that drop.
But even eights is good value, given that he's in a quarterfinal already and an incredibly open part of the draw where either Daryl Gurney, Nathan Aspinall, Joe Cullen, or Chris Dobie is going to be a match play finalist.
And you literally beat me to it, because I was literally looking at the draw bracket there, and you look at those and you think, right, but we've only got 2 seeds left. We've only got Nathan Aspinall and Joe Cullen left as seeds, and they were seeds 9 and 13. In that, so we've got 2 seeds left in half the draw, and it's seed 13 and seed 9, and 2 unseeded players, and yet we're guaranteed one of those 4 will be a match play finalist. It's going to play havoc with the order of merit, that half of the draw.
Yeah, I mean, we only had 4 non-seeds progress to the second round. We were guaranteed at least one of them to progress. Daryl Gurney against Gary Anderson was an all unseeded affair. Chris Dobie defeating Michael Smith means that at least half of them progress to the quarterfinals. There is an outside chance we do get a third. That is in our third game. Our first game tomorrow, third game in the draw bracket, which is Brendan Dolan against Damon Heta. Chat room, this is your chance to get involved as per usual. Let us know your score predictions for these games as we go through them in order. Barry says, what price is the ferret? Johnny was at 9-1 with Peter Wright, if you're going with the title sponsors. Betfred. Brendan Dolan, Damon Heta done. Brendan Dolan did a fantastic job in upsetting Michael Van Gerwen in the very, very first round. However, I don't see it happening again right now. Damon Heta is the foreman of these two. He looks like he's settled that a little bit more on TV. He even managed to rile up the match play crowd before going out on stage. I don't think he's going to be bold enough to do an Ashes-themed walk-on, given that the 4th test starts tomorrow morning. But I still think he's got more than enough in the tank to dispatch of Brendan Dolan tomorrow, don't you?
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's I'd go probably fairly wide as well. I think it's a Heta 11-5. Brendan Dolan, brilliant first round. I'm looking for a better set of words than that he might run out of steam. It's sort of half what I want to say, but I'm not quite. I think he might have peaked too soon in the event.
He's not got the staying power.
Yeah, that's it. That's where I think he's certainly got a game in him, but I think we've already seen that game in this tournament. And I think Heta is more likely to sustain the level that we're used to seeing from him than we're likely to see Dolan play above his usual or recent form. So I think it's a comfortable Damon Heta win.
Surprisingly, I also think Damon is that little bit more solid on the outer ring than Van Gogh is right now. And also, if he trails Brendan Dolan, as much as it will be annoyed and it will be a small upset, I don't think it will have as much of an impact as it did on Van Gogh, who was big favourite to win this. Obviously, playing with the fact that he's had lots of dental work done recently, played very, very well in Poland last week, and not getting near that level, I think will have been more frustrating to him and more panic-inducing than I think it would be if Damon Heta finds himself behind at any point tomorrow, which is why I'm going with Damon Heta as well, even if it goes close. However, I'm going to say 11-6 in this
Michael Van Gerwen was playing two players on that pitch, on the hockey. He was playing Brendan Dolan and he was playing Michael Van Gerwen at the same time.
Yeah. And we all know how difficult Michael Van Gerwen is to beat. El says Heta is going to win this one 11-6. Zane's got Heta 11-5. Preston's got Heta 11-8. Bob has gone Dolan 11-7. He's corrected it shortly just after. And that's about it for predictions for that one. On to match number 2, and it is the Ferret, Johnny Clayton, against the former Matchplay champion and a man whose record here is absolutely staggering in Dimitri Van den Berg. Dan, we know that Johnny Clayton's first-round game perhaps wasn't the level we would expect from the Ferret. We are aware that there are some personal situations going on with Johnny right now. You could see that in his post-match interview on Sky with Abby. Do we think that all adds up to a Dimitri win?
Yeah, well, I stuck on with my predictions yesterday for today's games. I stuck with my picks to win the quarters, who were Joe Cullen and Chris Dobie, and it played very, very well to me tonight. So I'm going to stick with my quarter-finalist winner predictions and go with a Dimitri Van den Berg win. I think we'll see a little bit more from him than we saw in his opening game. I don't think it'll be as convincing as the opening game, where I think Damon Heta will be very comfortable. I'm going to go with a Dimitri Van den Berg 11, 7. 11-7, Dimitri Van den Berg.
That's what Dan is going. Chat room, where are we going? Bob's got Dimmy 12-10. Johnny has... Preston has Johnny 11-7. Crikey, you know it's getting late. Mitchell's gone Dimmy 11-8. Els has got Dimmy 11-9. Zane is Dimmy 11-7. If you ask me this question at 95% of the build up to this tournament, I would have said Johnny Clayton goes on to win this. In fact, I did tip him to win this quarter, I believe. However, actually, maybe that was Andrew Gilding, maybe I just said he was going to out awkward everybody, and that went to plan, didn't it?
Yeah, he made us all look foolish, didn't he?
I don't want to talk about that one anymore. Yeah, I'm going with Dimmy as well. I thought he was very, very impressive against Ross Smith in the first round. He just looks to have found that extra gear when he needs it at the moment, and he just seems to do that in this venue. So I'm going to say Dimmy wins this one. I'm going to say he wins this one 11-7. There's a couple more. I think Zane hadn't put his in yet, so he's got Dimmy 11-7, and Jonas has gone Dimmy 11-5. Before we move on to the final two, we have some magic at work. Chris Dobie clip is in, so this is a short piece from him in his post-match press conference.
I didn't feel that I was in the game and didn't feel I deserved to be in the game early doors. How I got up back to 5-5, I do not know. I thought he was a better player throughout the first two sessions, and obviously I knew that I'm going to have to take my chances if I'm going to go on to win the match, and once I got my head in front, I think you've seen the best of us.
He completely agreed with me, didn't he?
I was saying, that makes me feel so much better about what we said about not knowing how we went in that at 5.
Honestly,
if he doesn't know, then how on earth are we supposed to know?
I feel completely redeemed as to the messages I was sticking in our WhatsApp group. I completely don't understand how on God's earth he's managed to get to 5-all. So if he's thinking the same thing, I sort of think I might know what I'm talking about.
We'll go with that one, Dan. On to the third match of the night, and there are only two former champions left in this tournament, by the way. One of them is Dimitri Van den Berg. The other one is Peter Wright, who is the highest ranked player left in the tournament, given the fact he has not played anything in the build-up, is in absolutely no form at all, had a terrible Premier League campaign, pretty impressive demolition of Andrew Gilding, and a shot at, look, Ryan Searle was mightily impressive in the first round, but you'd offered him Ryan Searle in the second round, probably would have taken a crack at this one.
I think this is the hardest game to predict since we started predicting games every night this week for the match play, just because of what we've seen in the opening round. Ryan Searle was absolutely exceptional, and Peter Wright looked about 85% of Peter Wright. And if Peter Wright can get to 90% of Peter Wright, then he should beat pretty much 90% of people left in the tournament. Well, probably all but one. It's a tough one, this, and I'm really, really struggling. Go on, sod it. Ryan Searle, 11-9.
Interesting. For the very first time this tournament, am predicting extra legs, and I think we get the all-important tie-break leg.
Oof.
I think it goes all the way. Do you remember that Players' Championship final where they just duked it out for so long?
I was in the room. It was one of the best games of darts I've ever watched live. It was incredible.
Yeah. Which I think at this round means that's 14-13 instead of 13-12, which was possible in the previous round, but the extra leg had that on. So I'm going 14-13, and I'm going to say Peter Wright hangs on for that one. If Ryan Searle comes out and plays anywhere near the way he did in that first round, I think it's going to be incredibly tough for Peter Wright. But what I do believe is that the set of darts that Peter Wright did use in the first round are absolutely the right ones for him. He's got slight little subtle changes to the setup depending on the temperature of the room. If that's what he needs, then fine. If they're going to fly through the air that little bit different, then okay, granted. He's more about dart setups than pretty much everybody in this chat combined, I'm going to hazard a guess at, because he's done it for so long and tinkered about with so many little subtle changes. But I also believe they're the darts that he needs to win tournaments. They're the darts he needs to stick with. They are a set that he's won the World Championship with. They are the set that he won the World Matchplay with 2 years ago in the most dominant fashion I think I've ever seen a major tournament be won. He was absolutely exceptional in 2021, and they were the barrels that took him there. And that is why I'm going to say Peter Wright edges through this one, 14-13. Chat room, what do you guys have in this one? Preston's got Heavy Metal winning 11-9. Bob's got Searle 11-5. Elle's got Searle 12-10. Azza, Wright 11-7. Can't see Searle playing that well again, and Peter will thrive off knowing what top seeds have gone already. Can't afford a slow start there like he did against Gilding, 100%. Zane says Wright 11-9. Joe says Wright gets through. Come on, Joe, you've got to give us a score, mate. We don't do sitting on the fence. None of that. You've got to give us stick your neck on the line. And that's it for score predictions. I'll read some more chats out at the moment. James says Price has quietly defended a chunk of ranking money. Now he has busted out tonight for the rest of the year in excess 200k, and he'll be down 6th in the order of merit for the world if half the field win the match play. That's interesting.
We had a chat about that last night after the show, didn't we? We were having a little chat about what money. I had a quick look at the match play bracket from 2 years ago, and 80% of people that made it through the second round that year aren't here now.
Mm-hmm.
Really, big changes in the order of merit when that money drops off.
Very, very big. Bonkers says Hector, Clayton, Wright and Humphreys will win. Vialli's got Derby all the way.
Correct.
Gianluca Vialli.
It's actually Jean. No, of course it can't be, can it?
Definitely not, actually. But, Joe's actually backed up the scoreline, gone right 13-11. On to the final game of the day, and this one for me, again, is an absolute coin toss. if they both get going, and is Luke Humphries against Dirk van Dijvenbode, two of the most explosive, big-hitting, fired-up young characters I think we have on the tour right now, and it could make for a very, very good watch.
I'm not convinced. I think it will be a Luke Humphries 11-6. I think he's going to thump him tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think if any player in this tournament is going to take... I know we talked about it with how it would affect Michael Smith with those other players going out. I think if there is a player in this tournament that will look at the top half of the bracket and who he could potentially meet in a final, I think Luke Humphries must be sitting there thinking this is the best chance I'll ever get.
I mean, it's certainly opening up, isn't it? I mean, you do look at that bracket. He would run in to the winner. Well, the winner of Humphries or Van Dijvenbode takes on Brendan Dolan or Damon Heta. I mean, if you're getting that as a quarterfinal, given that Michael Van Gerwen and Josh Rock were in that part of the draw, you will absolutely be rubbing your hands at that.
As good as both, Damon Heta, played really well. I don't think Luke Humphries will lose a moment's sleep over playing Damon Heta in a quarterfinal. I think Luke Humphries doesn't. I think Luke Humphries just assumes he just goes in and wins that game.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other side of the draw. Yeah, potentially you might get either an informed Ryan Searle or a tinkering Peter Wright, or a Dimitri Vandenberg that loves you up there. But I think Luke Humphries is certainly for tomorrow's game will be massively. Will take a huge boost from Gezi going out, from Michael Smith going out, MVG obviously no longer there. And I think Humphries just comes out absolutely flying tomorrow. I think he completely...
Are we underestimating just how good Dirk van Dijvenbode can be, given that actually his first round was not the free-flowing Dirk we know? He's been one of the standout performers on the Pro Tour so far this year, and he did get caught up a little bit in the testosterone-ness of a battle versus Kim Hybrex.
He did, but I really struggle to look past the current form of Luke Humphries in this situation with what's happened in the tournament in the last 48 hours. And I don't think that Dirk van Dijvenbode jumping around on stage and growling, and I just don't think it will affect Luke Humphries at all. I think he'll just stand there and throw darts very, very well all night.
Just want to play darts. Score prediction from me. I'm backing Luke, but I think it will be a little bit more narrow margin of victory. I'm going to say wins it 11-8 is the scoreline I'm going for. As you said, he was just magnificent in that previous round. Absolutely took Jose de Sousa to town, and if Dirk comes out slowly, I think he'll find himself a long, long way behind. Zane has got Humphries 14-12. Joe says, absolute banger as long as Dirk is at it. 180s galore. Dirk wins 11-7. Big call on that one. Joe also says, get the likes up, chat room. We couldn't agree more.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Any more score predictions for this one? There they are. Preston's got Luke 11-8. Els has got Humphries 11-7. Bob Humphries 11-8. And I think that's all she wrote for predictions. Vialis says they're playing the same league as Chris. Lovely bloke. Not another one from the Northeast. There's way too many of them. James talking about Humphries' draw says it hasn't changed tonight until he gets to the final. No, but once he does get to the final, it has opened up significantly when Michael Smith and Gerwyn Price exit from the opposite half of the draw in the space of an hour. He does still have to beat Dirk van Dijvenbode, Heta, then Ferret, Wright, Searle, or Dimmy. Granted, I think he's 7-2 because of the fact that he's the foreman. He looked magnificent. He was only beaten by a very, very good Michael Van Gerwen performance last weekend. He played pretty well on the Pro Tours as well. So that's where he's going with that. And one to keep an eye out on for the rest of the week. Elsa's just saying, boys, at the start, I predicted a Dobie Humphries final watch this space.
You did, to be fair. I remember that, and I remember giggling along with that prediction, but I'd take it.
You know full well if Van Dijvenbode wins tomorrow, we will be watching this space, and this comment will reappear on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. That's about it tonight from the Fallout Bar. Once again, a big thank you to everybody that's tuned in, either live here on YouTube or that is listening back as a podcast. If you can and you're watching on YouTube, please do drop us a like and make sure you have subscribed to the channel to make sure you don't miss out on any other content that we produce, including interviews from all the players from across the week, any previews of each of the session, and any other bonus content we can get you. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to tell you this, but we do have interviews lined up with Mr. Matt Porter once again at the end of the week. And not only that, Phil may even be going to see Mr. Chairman at his home. Interview lined up with Mr. Barry Hearn at some point in the next few weeks as well, including content coming from an interview with Steve Brown whilst at the Motor Super Series. Lots to talk about given the ADC's future right now. That'll be dropping on the channel in the next few days as well. Motor Super Series returns tomorrow morning, the conclusion of Group A, including Robbie King from Australia, Jared Cole involved as well. Look out for an Ashes-themed piece of content coming your way in the morning as well. Really entertaining piece that the guys have put together earlier today. That's about it from now. Big thank you to all of our sponsors, to Betfred, the title sponsor of the World Matchplay, for being our sponsors, and to you, Dan, for joining me once again this evening. We'll be back tomorrow night. I'd love to say same time, but who knows when this tournament is on. It gets later and later each day.
Could be very late
See you very, very soon.